All right, it's the evening show. Stuff just won't stop. 49ers always in the news, even if the signing that has happened in the NFL doesn't directly pertain to a outgoing player from this season or an incoming player from this season. 49ers have their footprint everywhere, mainly in Tennessee, where Rand Carthon is the new general manager. And he's part of this run on 49ers edge rushers, the run on edge rushers that Kris Kocurek has coached. Kris Kocurek will make you some money. And the 49ers probably should be broadcasting that message to edge rushers across the league right now, because over the past hour, we've seen Charles Omenihu sign with the Kansas City Chiefs at $10 million per year. We've seen Samson Ebukam sign with the Tennessee Titans at $9 million per year. And we've seen Arden Key, who stopped in Jacksonville this past season, so he's not directly leaving from the 49ers, but former 49ers edge rusher Arden Key, career resurrected by Kris Kocurek, also signed with the Tennessee Titans for $8 million per year. So they're going to be called the Nashville 49ers next year, because you're going to have Samson Ebukam, Arden Key coming off the edges. You're going to have Azeez Al-Shire cleaning up as maybe the Mike linebacker. He's going to be playing there in the middle. We'll see how that whole defense for Mike Vrabel is set up. And you're going to see Daniel Brunskill, the Swiss Army knife, along the offensive line for the Tennessee Titans. All those players are now with the Titans here, actually in Nashville. That's where I'm at right now. So it's funny that I'm talking about that and no longer with the 49ers. But you talk about the run on edge rushers. Well, this is a visual that I made for the screen. Put it up on Twitter. Put that up on the screen right now. It's right here at the bottom. The run on 49ers edge rushers, particularly the ones that went through the 49ers Kocurek system, continues. $10 million Omenihu, $9 million Ebukam, $8 million Arden Key. Wow. Just wow. And we could go through the list of 49ers players who have departed. That's the 49ers departure tracker. I've got that right here. The departure tracker is my free agent list where I put my guess, stay or leave. I made the guesses last week, and then I keep track of how correct I am on the right-hand column. Green means that I was right with my guess. Red means that I've been wrong. And as you can see, this long list of free agents, most of them we've been right about. So that means, you could look at this from the 49ers perspective. That means that nobody's panicking. They were expecting to lose most of these guys. Salary cap increase this year. That means that other teams had more spending money, and the 49ers are getting outbid on a lot of good football players. Outbid on Jimmy Ward. Outbid on Jimmy Garoppolo. They knew they were going to get outbid on Jimmy Garoppolo. That's why they ruled that out so early in the process. Definitely outbid on Samson Ebukam. $9 million to the Tennessee Titans. Outbid on Emmanuel Moseley. I was wrong about this one. I thought the 49ers would be able to keep Emmanuel Moseley because he was coming off an ACL tear, but $6 million coming off an ACL tear, that's a rich contract for Emmanuel Moseley to go to the Detroit Lions. Outbid on Mike McGlinchey, $17.4 million per year to go to Denver. Outbid on Azeez Al-Shire. This was one that the 49ers knew ahead of time they weren't going to be able to match from the Tennessee Titans. Charles Omenihu, outbid on him, $10 million from the Chiefs. Hassan Ridgeway going to the Texans. That's another alternate 49ers location. The Houston 49ers with DeMeco Ryans as their head coach. Tashawn Gibson stays with the 49ers. That was expected. That was a priority retention for the 49ers, especially when it came true that Gibson was not going to retire. Jake Brendel staying with the 49ers. Priority retention. That one happened today. 5 years, $20 million. We'll see if we had the contract details on Jake Brendel coming in soon. They kept their restricted free agents, two of them at least. They kept Kevin Givens and Colton McKivitz. I predicted both of them to stay. And Juwan Jennings not going anywhere as an exclusive rights free agent. So a lot of people emotional right now on Twitter, like, oh, man, all my favorite players are leaving. And, I get it. The 49ers are in a position where they had a lot of good football players. The salary cap means you can't keep everyone. And times like these, off seasons like these, or when a deep roster like the 49ers roster is going to get pillaged. And not just because the 49ers are not wanting to get pillaged and other teams are just having whatever they want. The 49ers understand that developing players, developing a deep roster, they understand this is part of it, right? So this is why, again, this list right here, this is why I've been correct on so many of them, because I've expected, and by extension, the 49ers have also expected so many of these free agents to leave. Now, there have been incorrect reports online. People are like, oh, the 49ers are going to get 5, 6, 7 comp picks next year. No, there's an NFL rule that limits them to 4 comp picks per player departures. So the 49ers this year are getting 7 total comp picks, 4 the max through player departures in free agency, and 3 through the minority hiring rule, which is coaches and general managers getting promotions. That's 7 total comp picks that they're going to have in the 2023 draft. The way that comp picks works is this cycle feeds the next draft. So this free agent cycle is going to feed the 2024 NFL draft. The 49ers are in line to max out again with 4 player draft picks. Mike lets me know this is our number 18 video since yesterday. Holy crap. It's a lot. That means you should subscribe. You should also subscribe to The Athletic. I wrote this piece. Stuff is changing fairly quickly, but most of it still applies. I mean, the techniques the 49ers use still applies. How the 49ers creatively fit under the salary cap, even while signing Javon Hargrave and Sam Darnold. Since I wrote the piece, which also highlights how the 49ers restructured Charvarius Ward at the start of today, I have talked about how the 49ers have now restructured Fred Warner. That was since I wrote this piece. $9.5 million in salary cap space opened up by the Fred Warner restructure. So why don't we do this? Why don't we take a look at the build your roster? Why don't we plug in a Fred Warner restructure, since that was one of our options in the build your roster? And so why don't we make sure that Jake Brendel is also on there? Make sure that everything is up to date as we take inventory at the end of the day. All right, so here we go. 49ers build your own roster 2023. We are on the page. We're going to scroll down. No, we haven't signed Jake Brendel yet, so we're going to do that. Scroll down here. Add Brendel. Guess is a $4 million cap hit. I think that's going to be a decently good guess. I think we did a good job building the program there. $4 million for Brendel. Let's go over here on the right side. The 49ers restructured Fred Warner. His cap hit went from $18.53 million to about 10. Yeah, so we were right on our cap hit estimation as far as how much it would go down for the restructure. So we've restructured Fred Warner. We've restructured Charvarius Ward. We have signed Juwan Jennings, or at least offered him the ERFA tender. He must still sign it. We have added Colton McKivitz. This is an estimated $2 million cap hit. I think the actual number was $1.5 million, but our estimation still in that right ballpark. Who else have the 49ers brought in? Javon Hargrave here. I edited this to make it $6.6 million because the 49ers backloaded that deal severely. That's what I talk about in the salary cap piece. Kevin Givens, was going to be a restricted free agent, but the 49ers brought him back for less money than the $2.62 million. So I think with Brendel in there, I have it all covered. That's where the 49ers are at right now. They still have 9 53-man roster spots to fill, and they have $13.76 million to do it. This is an estimate with our roster builder. Now, if we go to the official salary cap sheet, this is less of a video game and more of a serious exercise where we're trying to keep track of everything. I've got Jake Brendel in there with his estimated $4 million cap hit. We can now restructure Fred Warner's deal. So they saved $9.5 million in salary cap space. That means he's going to be at about $9.53 million. That's going to be an estimate as well because we got to get the official numbers. So I put estimated there on the side. But the 49ers now have about $9.6 million in salary cap space with that Fred Warner restructure. So that's where we're at right now. Evening of night number 2, or evening of day 2, legal tampering period in the NFL. New league year starts tomorrow, so the 49ers don't technically have to be under the salary cap until the start of the new league year, which I believe is going to be at 9 a.m. Wednesday, 9 a.m. tomorrow. But they will now easily be under with that $9.6 million in salary cap space. Keep in mind that the 49ers are going to need to sign their 11-player draft class. So they've got some money for that. Some people are saying, oh, they restructured Fred Warner. Another big signing is coming. I think it's going to be more cost-efficient signings. The big signing was Javon Hargrave. They're able to get a $21 million per year player, backloaded his deal. I explained how they backloaded his deal in this piece right here. We could even take a look at the table that I included in this piece. That's Javon Hargrave's contract, signing bonus, option bonus. You got both of them operating simultaneously in years 2, 3, 4, and 5 of this deal. That's how they fit Hargrave. They get creative. They're trying not to mortgage the future like the Rams did. I think the 49ers have done a good job of that so far, but it is a tightrope act, and I don't think they're going to be spending all too much on, blockbuster signings from here on out. A lot of people think they might get an expensive edge rusher. Edge rushers, even the ones that aren't as expensive, still will cost you a chunk of change. And I agree, they do need to support Drake Jackson, especially now that Omenihu's not coming back, Ebukam's not coming back, Arden Key's not going to be walking through that door because he's coming here to Nashville. But they do have to find some sort of edge rushing support on the other side for the second-year man, Drake Jackson. I will say that Javon Hargrave is a rising tide that lifts all boats. That's what he was in Philadelphia. All those edge guys, Brandon Graham, Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat, those guys had huge years in large part due to the havoc that Javon Hargrave wreaked in the middle, and the 49ers are counting on him to deliver the same type of impact on the interior of their offensive line. All right, so 49ers departure tracker, Rand Carthon and the Nashville 49ers, Fred Warner's restructure, Brunskill to the Titans. Earlier on, I talked about Sam Darnold. He's got $7 million and not likely to be under incentives, but he wouldn't have signed the contract unless he thought he had a chance at getting those incentives. It's going to be a wild year in the 49ers QB room. We talked about it for a whole hour. The floor is open now to all of you during our 49ers PM update. That means that it's 49ers Q&A time. So let's get all those questions in. Trade for Brian Burns, says Great1765. Well, Steve Wilks, 49ers defensive coordinator, obviously worked with Brian Burns in Carolina. Brian Burns is a blue chip edge rusher. Let's see what his contract situation looks like. I just don't know if Carolina is going to be that excited to let go of a blue chip edge rusher. Came into the league the same year as Nick Bosa, and he's about to play on the 5th-year option. So only way you trade for somebody like that is if you're planning to pay him. Let's look at the money right now. Here you could see Brian Burns, $16 million 5th-year option. You'd have to pay him to lower that cap hit, sort of like you're going to have to pay Nick Bosa, who's on his 5th-year option as well. I don't think that you're going to have two guys on 5th-year options, two blue chip edge rushers on your team looking to get paid this year. I just don't think that's how the 49ers are going to operate in a cap sustainable fashion. So I'd have to say no on the trade to Brian Burns. I think that, again, Hargrave's going to make guys better. Kris Kocurek is usually able to find some of these edge rushers who might be cheaper, who might have either lost their way or never realized their potential, and he turns them into guys who get paid. He did it with Arden Key, who just signed. He did it with Samson Ebukam. He did it with Charles Omenihu. Who's to say that Kris Kocurek's not going to do the same thing again in a cost-efficient manner? Because I just got done talking for 5 minutes about how the 49ers are low on cash, how they're scrounging around, they're digging through the couch for quarters and dollar bills. They are not going to be massive spenders, especially when Nick Bosa on the other side is also going to be requiring a big contract. They let DJ Jones go too. You're right. DJ Jones is another defensive lineman that Kris Kocurek has developed. That track record is the 49ers' most valuable asset on the defensive side of the ball. Kris Kocurek is going to draw in edge rushers who believe they can make some money by playing underneath him. That is key. So that feeds right into the next question. David, what do you see as the most urgent need at this point? Right tackle, defensive end, or safety? As far as getting a more premier player, I'm big on investing heavily into the offensive line. I do think that the 49ers are a little thin on that offensive line. Daniel Brunskill is a sneaky loss. He was one of the more underrated 49ers players of the past several seasons. So you take a look at Daniel Brunskill and you say, okay, he's with Tennessee now. Who do we do if you're the 49ers? Who do we grab if you're the 49ers to have a strong 6th offensive lineman, a strong 7th offensive lineman, and at least a serviceable 8th offensive lineman? Because that's how many you need to navigate the marathon of these NFL seasons. And, this is Roy's Play says, don't panic, wait for the draft. There are a lot of edge rushers. Yeah, the 49ers won't panic. They're clearing up space through that Warner restructure so that they have enough money to sign their draft picks later. And so they have some flexibility just in case they want to swoop in on anybody last minute here when the new league year starts tomorrow. You've got to be cap compliant before that new league year, and the Warner restructure ensured that the 49ers will do that. Did Gold overestimate the market, or was he just bluffing? I think that he wanted to get the 49ers maybe to panic a little bit, but the 49ers didn't have enough money to panic. So maybe Gold circles back around. I think Greg Papa said, according to somebody, that the 49ers and Gold have been back in contact. I said this might be a bluff when it first happened. I don't think the 49ers want to lose a capable kicker, especially when they've invested so much in the defense now with Javon Hargrave. They're all in. The 49ers want to win it this next year. You know, I saw something really foolish online. Somebody was talking about the 49ers are definitely worse now than they were last year. Well, guys, it's the new league year hasn't even started yet. We're 2 days into the tampering period. 49ers had a loaded roster. Guys signed elsewhere. Of course, they're on paper worse. But why don't you revisit that thought after the draft? I mean, no shit. They're going to be worse right now. Yeah. So kind of how the offseason works. Guys sign elsewhere, then you have to replenish it. If you're on top of the mountain as far as having the strongest roster, you're going to lose a little bit before you start trying to regain that strength. And the 49ers have obviously lost some free agents. They've also picked up the big fish in Javon Hargrave. But please, before you overreact on the internet, please realize that this kind of stuff takes time, and you have to let the whole offseason play out before you can judge who got worse, who got better, and all of that stuff. Yeah, and then you look at the Eagles, who are getting dismantled right now. Eagles lost Javon Hargrave to the 49ers. That's the biggest defection in the NFC so far this offseason. I don't think that Javon Kinlaw is particularly tradable. He's got 1 year left on his deal. Would you pay $4.9 million for a year of Javon Kinlaw right now, given the knee issues, given, the last time that you saw him on tape against Philadelphia getting pushed around? That's what it would take. It would take somebody willing to pay a fully guaranteed $4.9 million to Javon Kinlaw next year, because first-round draft picks have their entire rookie contracts fully guaranteed. And that team would also have to be willing to give up draft capital for the right for the burden, I guess I should say, to pay Javon Kinlaw that kind of money. So I don't see that happening. It would have to be a package deal, yeah. So let me amend that. It would have to be a package deal where you're given something if you're the 49ers, right? Because Javon Kinlaw at this point is a little bit more of a liability than an asset until it's proven that knee can stay healthy enough for him to deliver on the football field. Landon says the 49ers defense is solid. They need to work on the offensive line. From a talent evaluation perspective, I agree with him. I mean, I could put this on the screen. We could look at the 49ers depth chart. Let's get this big. All right, here we go. We have the departures list. So just see here in the middle of the screen, of course, the defense is looking good. You got Charvarius Ward, Diamond Lenore at the corners. I think you probably need to continue filling the secondary, probably through the draft with a safety. I know you have your starters with Hufanga and Gibson. You're probably still shaky at nickelback with Womack, who was just a rookie this year. Linebackers are excellent. Losing Alshire doesn't hurt that position group. Alshire was just too good to stay. If he was a little bit worse, maybe he stays. But he deserves to be a top 2 linebacker somewhere. 49ers generally use 2 linebackers because they're in the nickel package so much. Defensive line getting stronger and stronger during this free agency period with Hargrave. Obviously, if Kevin Givens is back, yes, they could use another edge piece. I don't think that's the biggest priority right now, because I look at this offensive line right here and I say, okay, Brendel's back. That's nice. But McKivitz and Jalen Moore at right tackle, I still think the 49ers might have regressed right now. I mean, Mike McGlinchey got big money for a reason. He was doing something right. Now, McKivitz has improved a lot, but he still doesn't have that sample size under his belt to make anybody, I think, at least on the outside, overly confident that he could give the 49ers the upgrade that they need along the offensive line. So maybe an investment in the offensive line. They've got a little bit of cap room right now. But again, they also have 11 draft picks, and that may be how they try to shore most of this stuff up. Ian Sharp says that Kinlaw's a backup. Well, now he's firmly a backup because Javon Hargrave is on this team. Could be the best thing for the 49ers. Joseph Talmadge has strong opinions about the quarterback situation. He's going to beat out Lance for backup. Samson, not Joseph. Sam Darnold is, and he thinks Brock Purdy is the future. Well, we'll see. I did a whole video on the quarterback situation. I think that the 49ers are going to let that play out organically. I don't think that, placing anybody ahead of anybody else right now is all too productive since there are questions surrounding all three quarterbacks. Just another dart to throw at the board. Joseph also says, in a much more calm manner, without the all caps, he says, use Kinlaw as a rotation player. I think the 49ers are going to do that. I don't know about that. I think it's Alfredo Gutierrez time. Gutierrez is still pretty far down that depth chart. Alfredo, great guy, and he's going to be back with the 49ers this year. One more year of that international exception on the roster for Alfredo Gutierrez. Javon Hargrave's best 2 seasons have been the past 2. He's been really reliable. I think there's every reason to believe with the man strength that he has that he can at least deliver through 32, which would be 2 more seasons. And there's an out after age 32. I think the 49ers are betting on Hargrave to be good for 3 years. If he's good for 4, that's great. But for 3 would make this deal, make them over the moon with this deal. If they win the Super Bowl, he only has to be good for 1 year. I think the 49ers would be just absolutely thrilled. No signs of slowing down. His best football has come most recently. Again, every metric indicates that Javon Hargrave is a better pass rusher than DeForest Buckner. So the 49ers will be dealing with their best pass rushing defensive tackle of the Shanahan era. That's Nick Bosa's benefit. Nick Bosa is going to benefit. So is Drake Jackson. So is whoever else Kris Kocurek brings in to learn under him at the edge rushing position. I don't know about how cheap Frank Clark would be. Could be cheaper than some of these bigger names, the guy on the downswing. We'll see what the prices are. The run on edge rushers was about 2 hours ago, right? And it was on 49ers Kocurek edge rushers with Ebukam, Omenihu, and Arden Key. We'll see how that edge rushing market continues to develop. Hargrave is definitely worth this now. I mean, I talked about this earlier. We could scroll up. We can go to the comparison right here with DeForest Buckner. Take a look at this. This is pass rush productivity right in the middle of the screen for Javon Hargrave. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. There you go. Keep that big on the screen. Versus DeForest Buckner, a PFF stat. This is rank number. The productivity number is on the left and the rank number is on the right. Rank amongst defensive tackles. Javon Hargrave, past 4 years, has been a top 5 guy. Buckner, no. Buckner hasn't cracked the top 5. So people are talking about Buckner being better than Hargrave. From a pass rushing perspective, that's not the case. Javon Hargrave is one of the best pass rushing defensive tackles in football. So the 49ers, I think Nick Bosa is going to feast. Baldy liked it. Brian Baldinger, his video breakdown today was good. So I think they'll move up for a right tackle. Not sure about that. To get a ready-made starter on the offensive line, you usually have to have a first-round pick. But maybe they really like somebody that might be available in the second round. They're paying Colton McKivitz swing tackle money. I think Willis is one of those players who, Jordan Willis, should be able to be brought back at a more reasonable price. And they still need a lot of rotational depth along that defensive line. I mean, you take a look at this, you need a lot of bodies, right? So you look at the D-line, that's right here. You've got your front 4, but you don't even have a backup edge to Bosa. You've got Alex Barrett behind Drake Jackson. Kalia Davis is your 3rd-string defensive tackle. They actually have a lot of defensive tackle depth right now. They've got Armstead, Hargrave, Givens, Kinlaw, and Kalia Davis. But you only have Bosa, Drake Jackson, and Alex Barrett at the edge. So very naturally, you have to add another edge rusher. I'm going to actually, this is a good thing to tweet right now. Why don't we take a screenshot of this right now? And why don't we put this up on the Twitter machine? '49ers are currently stocked up at DT, but they very naturally, maybe not very naturally, but They're primed to add more edge rushers as Nick Bosa, Alex Barrett, Nick Bosa, Drake Jackson, and Alex Barrett are the only 3 DEs on the roster. Full depth chart. I'm going to go one more tweet here. The 49ers, like regarding 49ers roster replenishment. Now is the time. Now is a good reminder time that SF will be doing a lot of heavy lifting through the draft. They're not losing true frontliners. So let's see, how do we word this? They're not losing true frontliners, so mid-round developmental picks can slot in efficiently. And the 49ers have 11 of them. The 49ers roster replenishment. Now is a good reminder time that SF will be doing a lot of heavy lifting through the draft. They're not losing true frontliners, so mid-round developmental picks can slot in efficiently. And the 49ers have 11 of them. Important to keep big picture view. All right, we are 5 characters over. And I just erased that, and we're good. All right, there's the tweet. And you can check me out on Twitter at Lombardi himself. You could follow all these thoughts. Sometimes I like to multitask. I'll be on the video. I'll let you ask some questions. I'll bring in some of my tweets. Trey Flowers in the bargain. Trey Flowers, is he still good? I've been seeing Trey Flowers play in a little while. I mean, his prime was a few years back. If you could get him on a bargain, I guess. To look up some of the pass rush productivity, see what he's been doing as of late. I think Clowney wants at least $10 million per year. Not going to be able to afford that in all likelihood. But you could backload some of this stuff. I know Clowney is getting a little bit older, but you could be financially creative to an extent, and that's exactly what the 49ers are doing. That's exactly what I wrote about right here, how the 49ers creatively fit Hargrave and Sam Darnold under the cap. Are they going to keep on doing more of this stuff? I mean, some of the 49ers contractual strategies have been unprecedented, especially for them. A 1-year deal for Deshaun Gibson spread out over 5 years. That saves them $800,000 this year. Then you have the Colton McKivitz 2-year deal. They're saving like $217,000 per year through a void year spread out again. You know, these are really interesting strategies, and they're aggressive strategies that the 49ers are employing just to save a couple $100,000 here and there. That's why I liken it to looking for change in your couch. But that, you know, if it is the difference between signing Robbie Gould and not signing Robbie Gould, then you could see why the 49ers have done it. Or if it's the difference between signing some random free agent that they really want and some guy that they can't sign, you know, that's why they're operating in this way. We just need to see the full picture before we make full judgments on the 49ers. Financial creativity on the O-line. Well, you know, one guy that was creative financially, or was a creative addition financially, was Daniel Brunskill. They really got a lot of efficiency out of him over the past 4 seasons, and now he's set to make more money with the Tennessee Titans. Any standouts on the practice squad O-line, offense or defense? Well, John Lynch shouted out Keith Ishmael at the NFL Combine. He was on the practice squad last year. He's next in line probably to be the backup center this year. He started games at center in the past. As far as the practice squad goes, Leroy Watson, 49ers see him as a project converted tight end from UTSA. He's a tackle now. Nick Zakel wasn't on the practice squad. He was on the 53-man roster. And then there's Jason Poe. Jason Poe obviously won, one of the scouting practice squad, gold helmets or whatever they call them this past year. So Poe is a bowling ball there. He's a player the 49ers really like as well. Bud Dupree's probably going to be fairly pricey, but I don't know. We'll have to see what the market of some of these guys are. Looks like that edge rushing market is starting to pick up with all those ex-49ers signs. So we'll start to have answers to your questions tomorrow. All right, going to go for a few more minutes here. Talk about Kris Kocurek getting players paid. Rand Carthon is the one paying them with the Tennessee Titans. The run on 49ers edge rushers has begun. Fred Warner's deal restructured. So 2 restructures today, Charvarius Ward and Fred Warner. That opened up about $20 million total of salary cap space. 49ers using a lot of it. They've got to be cap compliant by tomorrow, but they should be with about $9.5 million as we speak. Check out the 49ers departure tracker. It is on my spreadsheet right down here. So far, so good as far as the predictions. 49ers losing a lot of players, but this was expected, and they've got to replenish, and they're working on replenishing both through free agency and then with those 11 draft picks. So look at the roster building process in the big picture. Don't freak out over one move here, one move there, or even a handful of moves here. Look at this at the end of everything. Totality is important. Perspective is important. Zooming out, free agency and the draft, both of those things are important to track. All right, everybody take care. Thanks for watching. Like the video, sub to the channel. We'll talk to you very soon.